welcome to Manufacturing Hub. Vlad and I are back here at ProveIT 2026. Vlad, it is barely 2026, and as I was getting ready for this, I almost introduced everyone to ProveIT 2027. Not that I want to go push 2026 ProveIT any further along than it is. It is Monday. Welcome to everyone watching and listening in. I am sure we've got a bunch of people watching live who maybe couldn't quite make it to ProveIT this year, and we've probably got a lot of people rewatching this on replay Monday night or some point after ProveIT, as these sessions and this entire week are absolutely jam-packed. A couple of notes for our listeners at home. If you are watching ProveIT live here on Manufacturing Hub, Vlad and I are live here today with Colby, who we will reintroduce to the show in just a moment. We will be back Wednesday, our normal time, or maybe 30 minutes after our normal time, and we will be back Friday morning with Walker to go do a bit of a synopsis and honestly see if any of us have voices. I am not 100% sure any of us are going to have voices, but we will be back here to go tell everyone about ProveIT. If you guys are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are new here, or if you guys have been here before and maybe have mixed questions, we love to have an open, fun conversation show. So if you guys have questions for Vlad and myself, or Colby, or about ProveIT, or about inductive automation, not necessarily their presentation, which is upcoming Wednesday, and Colby, we're going to do a really good job trying not to buy all of that inside information from you. Please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will do our very best in order to go ahead and answer that. But without further ado, everyone officially welcome to Manufacturing Hub here at ProveIT 2026, and we'd like to welcome our special guest Colby back on. Colby, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be back with you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Colby. For those that haven't seen the conversation that we had with you back at ICC, could you give us a bit of a new introduction of who you are, what you do, and give us a little bit of a background? How did you get into industrial automation?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Colby Clegg, and I'm CEO now of Inductive Automation. I'm one of the founding members of the company way back in 2003. And so the story goes, I was a computer science student at UC Davis with a few other people that are obviously prominent members of Inductive Automation. And through a guy in the class, I was introduced to Steve Heckman, and he was a systems integrator in Sacramento, California, had this integration business that had been around for about 20 years, and he had ideas for software he didn't know how to have them made. So that's what I was doing to make some money in college, and that's kind of how it started. So
let me ask you a follow-up, right? In hindsight, you're seeing all of these different companies in our space. Would you have foreseen the growth of Inductive as much as it has been? And I guess, what are your thoughts in hindsight as you were maybe entering the field?
Well, you're asking me to kind of summarize 23 years of development, but okay, look, when you started, of course, you start something, you want it to be successful. One of the things that comes to mind that was so funny at the beginning was that as an integrator, Steve didn't want to make a software company, right? And so he often says he searched and searched and searched and really tried to avoid it, but he just couldn't. So we were creating something for ourselves, and then eventually wanted to sell it to others, and then, you want it to do well, but it's a pretty wild ride, becoming something like this, where we are right now in the industry, the way that people seem to know us all over the world, even places where we don't really have strong presence, but people are using a mission. It's been an organic, viral success, 23 years in the making, so that is pretty wild, yeah.
And let me ask you, I guess, a follow-up question on tying that success to the ProveIT conference, as many of our listeners have heard Dave introduce, as well as the background behind this. What are your thoughts on the premise of the conference, as well as how does that vision fit into what Inductive is trying to do within the industry?
I really love this because it is very much in line with how we always tried to sell our software, right? We have always tried to prove it. One of the things we did from the very beginning was, you can go download it, install it in 3 minutes. You don't have to talk to us. You don't have to do much. You can reset the demo as much as you want to build and prove what you want to build before you prove it to yourself before you have to pay us anything, right? And so that philosophy of, practically solving solutions, selling based on actual value is fundamental to who we are. And so as ProveIT has formed in the last couple of years, and with what Walker has done, it's just been amazing because I love to see that philosophy kind of brought into a vendor agnostic, very pluralistic, environment.
Absolutely, no, I agree, and I'm super excited to dive a little bit more and ProveIT and get some of your more specific thoughts. ProveIT was at ICC last year, and that was fantastic. We had people who I met at ICC for the first time who were there in large part due to ProveIT. I met some people who walked up and bought tickets on Monday, or Tuesday, which was absolutely crazy. But before we do that, every couple of years, we hear thoughts and kind of conversations about inductive automation, selling ignition, and I feel like we've heard some of those rumblings here at the conference and maybe before the conference. Wanted to know if that was something that you'd like to address.
Selling ignition?
So selling inductive automation to someone else.
Oh, right, selling inductive automation. It's so funny how often that rumor comes up. We hear it all the time, and I think, I don't know where it comes from. We used to be really vocal about not selling out, and that's really coming from a place where this industry was frankly decimated by acquisitions, if I can say it like that, through the early 2000s and the 2010s, and it just acquisitions just frankly haven't proven to work really well for innovation. So we used to be very vocal about that. We stopped, saying, "Oh, we're never going to sell," but I will tell you, absolutely, we are not selling inductive automation. It's not happening. So, at all. So I think, it's so funny. I don't know. I can say a lot. I don't want to get too crazy, but it's kind of like probably a frontline trip for lazy salespeople, I guess, from the competition. To kind of be like, hey, I hear they're selling out. So what? That soon will be as bad as they are? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, no.
No, I appreciate that, Colby. As I've told you, back when Steve was CEO running the organization, I heard a really impassioned conversation opening the new building in Folsom about how inductive was going to continue to stand on its own 2 feet, and there was no plans or intention to go sell the organization. And as I told you, with the change in leadership, with you becoming CEO and many people moving up a couple of years ago, celebrating 23 years, it certainly seems like inductive automation is growing in and of itself very well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But we've done something, frankly, that's not very common anymore, to bootstrap a company and to grow organically. And I think it is, something this industry kind of needed at the time. This industry requires trust. It requires durability. I think we're getting to a place where there's a lot more openness to innovation and new ideas and new, quicker technology cycles, But if you think about 2003 and onward, you're still getting questions of how can we put this in and trust it for the next 20 years, Okay, but all that said, where we are today, our independence is so wonderful because it makes my job a little bit easier in the sense that my entire career at this company has been about simply creating value. I don't have to satisfy investors. I don't have to satisfy the stock market. Who knows what things go in the future? But I've always valued that a lot.
Let me ask you maybe a more strategic question, but again with the end user in mind. Right? And as you mentioned, the solution that Inductive provides has grown, I would say, beyond just being a pure on-floor solution, but now comes in as a executive strategy on various levels. How do you, or I guess, what kind of conversations are you having with executives that are looking to transform their organizations, that are looking to figure out, it might be AI, we'll get into that a little bit later, right? But who are looking at ignition as not just a on-floor tool, but now as a complete strategy for their enterprise.
Yeah, that's right. We, from the beginning, when we created Ignition, we put so much effort into making it as broadly applicable as possible. That was a very conscious choice. We never wanted to chase, a couple of dollars and hone it in too much. So as a result, we have this very broadly applicable product, and now it's quite robust in its functionality. A single code base that scales from an edge device to, huge cloud of instances. And so as a result, it's used in many ways at many levels. And so what starts as a seed on the plant floor grows and grows, sometimes thanks to the unlimited licensing, to grow that plant. And then it goes conceptually, far beyond that. So, yeah, it's an interesting challenge. for us in terms of talking to the different personas that are starting to show up. And you're only talking to systems integrators, and the only ones who are listening to you are the ones who are really adventurous. At the very beginning, it's a certain population. And then it evolves, and then we get to the systems integrators who are a little bit more conservative. But now in the enterprise space, it's just a whole different world, right? We're not as connected to the plant floor. These are decision makers that are thinking in a more abstract way or a more strategic way. So it's been a really, it's an interesting, good journey for us, flattering and pretty amazing. And but fundamentally, our strategy, it continues to be from the plant floor upward. Things grow up that way. I almost kind of believe that there's a firewall that can only go up that way to a degree, which we can get into if you want or not. But so watching these very innovative companies use our software to its max capabilities to connect the entire enterprise, of which to that level there's probably 10 to a dozen or more who've really gone all in with the mission around the world and all sorts of industries. It's amazing. So
I would say you almost answered my follow-up question, because I was going to ask you about this bottom-up versus top-down approach, because I've had, to be honest with you, different conversations. Of course, it depends on the size of the company, but some of them have a lot of, let's say, legacy tools from other vendors, and they're looking to transition, and perhaps at that time, maybe the conversation is with an executive who's looking at this a little bit more holistically, versus there's going to be companies where the engineer has had the opportunity to try the software and pitch it internally. So I'm curious, again, as you advise maybe manufacturers, or as you're advising systems integrators who do these solutions, are you seeing more and more, as again the solution has matured, I would say, those conversations with the executives trying to holistically approach the platform for the entire enterprise?
Well, on one hand, I think that today we find ourselves in a situation where global companies are more connected. Right? There's been, if you're talking about the span of these 22 years we've been doing this, right? There's been a globalization in all the ways that companies have been acquired up. There's a better sophistication from the top down of thinking what a good strategy would be, so I recognize that. But what I was saying was that, at the end of the day, the plant floor is what matters. That's what has to run. And that's where a top-down, let's plan it all out and make it, perfect approach probably falls short. I mean, solving practical solutions is what it's about, and then growing those. So it's kind of like, I'm talking about kind of two different aspects of the problem, but I really do believe, and we say things get said in different ways. So, for example, Arlen Nichols has always said that, a superior IT solution, depends on a superior OT solution. Really, and I really believe that. It's true though. You have to work on the plant floor before you can really do that. Today in the keynote, Walker said that his punchline, one of his punchlines was that the name of the game is creating an environment where people can solve their own problems. Right? That's what he said. That with young workers, with all these people coming in, our job is to create an environment where you are solving a personal problem in service of your company. Right? That's a very plant floor thing, right? So that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I guess kind of on that continuation, what are your thoughts when it comes to ProveIT? So again, ProveIT was at ICC. What are your thoughts on ProveIT so far, day one? What are you most excited to see this week?
Well, I think, the fundamental premise of showing up and having to show value and show solutions is wonderful. I think it's just been, it's such a great, kind of counterpoint to the fluffy marketing that can so easily take hold. So that part's wonderful. And, you mentioned ICC, I mentioned that. That was kind of, an off-the-wall idea we got. When ProveIT happened last year, and we saw how successful it was. We also had a problem at the time as we were well into planning our largest ICC ever. We were expanding it, going to a new venue, and that meant a lot of new potential vendors and sponsors. And when you put on a show like this, which is very expensive, that's a key component of making it work out. But we've always been real sensitive in our approach to vendors at ICC. It's such a high trust environment. We want people there who represent something valuable. And so as we're trying to, we're trying to expand it and try to think of like how do we make sure these vendors are really connected to our mission. So we prove it. I reach out to Walker and like, hey, I think there's something here. Like, what if we did something that these vendors had could participate in this? And so that's kind of the symbiotic kind of relationship we formed there, which was wonderful. So anyhow, this week it's I'm not looking forward to seeing. There's a lot of hype talk. There's a lot of interesting stuff, but we are in a time where technology, there's a lot going on, and so it's just fun to see what everyone is doing. There's a lot of new companies. There's a lot of interesting things just to discover, and so I don't think this industry has been this dynamic and this fun for a long time, frankly. So.
Hey, let me ask you a follow-up on that maybe comment of hype. We also watched the keynote from Jeff Winter that unraveled or explained AI in a lot of details. And I guess I want to separate that a little bit, like what the strategy is from the Inductive standpoint. Also, to start off, what are your thoughts on AI? How do you see it maybe shaping the industry? What kind of conversations we're having with some of the executives that might be coming to you or some of your partners and asking for you want to see more AI-driven?
Do you want my real answer or my fake answer? I'm asking this since that I love technology. I love the practical application of technology, right? So I have to admit that now, I'm old enough that I've been around this long enough to where you see enough cycles come through, hype cycles come through. So we all kind of know that with the hype cycle curve, and that's fine. And so we're at a place right now where there's a lot of early experimentation. The technology is changing so fast. That's been the trick of it, right? It's changing under our feet every day. So it's kind of a fun time to explore and to play around, but the practical time is probably not here anywhere near yet, right? And so, okay. So what does that mean we can do? Well, to a degree, the experimentation is an important part of learning, and you don't want to just bury your head in the sand, come back in 5 years and see where it's at. So there's no need to be done. There's a lot of things that are helpful, of course. What we see when we throw AI at the UNS and can ask it questions and get relatively good answers. Like that's cool. There's a lot of really good little applications that can be built right now. That's what I'm talking about. Technical issue.
Let me ask you on the follow-up on that side, right? And as I mentioned,
30 seconds, guys. Sorry for everyone watching live. Give us just a second. Josh was saying the audio is a bit garbled, and I saw that in the comments. Okay. No, I appreciate you, Josh. Apologies, guys. We were like a quarter of a second behind when I looked at it before we went live. But I don't know what the audio looks like now. It's worse now. It's worse now. It's really loud. It's really loud. Okay. Okay. Well, let me turn the gain down. Let me turn the gain down. Yeah. It didn't, no. It is. sorry, Chad. If you do have to watch live, Josh is helping us try to keep you at the audio side. Okay, guys, we are making a change. Give us just a moment, please. It might be the pod track. Okay, test. No change. I mean, I hear that a little bit through this.
Yeah, you do. I don't think it's that. It's far worse.
Okay.
This should be our end.
Yeah, those should be the ends. These three. And then these are the odd. I hear it. Oh, I hear it.
This one too. It looks a lot, it feels a lot clearer on our side.
Yeah, that removed a lot of back.
What did you change?
You lowered the gain on the inputs. Yeah. Well, because there's nothing attached to it.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Is it good? Test 1, 2, test 1. troubleshoot the abstract.
I'm going to go change inputs again. Guys, I apologize. Please hold with us as we change microphones. You can hand it over.
I'll leave this running right now.
Thank you.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Now, if that doesn't solve it, then it's some sort of connection issue.
Yeah. In which case I will get IT and everything.
Does it capture any audio from the HDMI over the cameras?
Oh,
Okay.
so it was an input issue. So,
Oh, all right. Good. Dave saves the day. Good? All right.
So, guys, I'm now never going to live down telling Vlad that we only need to run one set of microphones. I would just like everyone to know that this is just my line.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Apologies, guys. Phil and Kyle say that we look good. Jeremy says that we can hear the audio now. Hank, how many automation guys does it take to fix an audio problem? I don't know. I'm not sure we technically fixed it. We've just reverted to our backups.
All right.
All right. So I was saying AI is revolutionary, changing the world. We're doing it all. Yeah.
Yes.
It's cutting us off. It decides it doesn't like the answer.
Remove
Yeah.
all the negative, yes,
Yes.
all negative mentions of AI. But no, to continue on that same train of thought, Colby, right? So we've asked you the question of what your thoughts are, but now as the CEO who is responsible for delivering value to integrators, to manufacturers, to partners, how do you think about the strategy of AI? How do you think about the investments and asset allocation that you're making?
Well, I think the key to the answer is kind of fortuitous for us because it really is a path we were already on, which is about, openness, right? Interoperability. And so I always say, like, if you're going to do anything with AI, what is the starting point? What do you need? You need access to data, to the systems, right? And so, in September, we released Ignition 8.3, and that kind of completed our vision of how to open up the Ignition platform as much as possible. So that means, RESTful API to control all aspects of the gateway, all configuration stored in open systems and whatnot. And that's a fundamentally important first step. Now, on top of that, we can build lots of actually useful applications, right? So we have the data, we have the config. The thing I'm most excited about probably the first problem to solve is the speed of implementation. Okay. So I talk a lot about how we have a massive amount of, old stuff installed out there, right?
Yep.
Like that is insecure, needs to be upgraded. But even if you're not talking about that, if you're talking about like just innovation, I was talking to somebody earlier today and they said, this project, it was going to cost, $100,000 for the software, but then 6 months to implement this project, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of engineering work. Well, what if that 6 months is 3 months or 3 weeks or a week, right? And that's where AI can be hugely impactful right away. And that to do that, you need something like what we've already built in Ignition. So that's fortunate for us.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, right? Because I also try to figure out like where the balance lies between, using AI basically for development and deployment of the software for the end user versus, how do we help leverage some of that, again, data and understanding what can we draw as insight from the plant floor, right? And of course, you need to do, to an extent, both. You need to both satisfy the integrators who are deploying these solutions, but also think about the customers that maybe then are left with the deployment looking to understand their plant floors a little bit better. So again, I would be curious, maybe like your comment on what you're seeing at ProveIT. Where do you see the industry maybe sort of leaning on both of those fronts? And are there any other applications of AI that you're seeing that might be interesting?
Well, certainly, because when you look around and you see what people are building, everyone is trying to build, a cloud intelligence platform. Now, One part of that cloud part is that's where these things natively live. So that's the easy starting point. But nonetheless, the intelligence platform concept of taking this unified view that we can finally get to, the concept of UNS, MQTT, this is all building blocks building up over time to lead to this point where we can now access all of this data together. There's a lot of talk, for example, about data modeling now, right? And that's important. That's a stage where we're at. But you put it together, and now, of course, AI can answer questions. It is really good at looking at data and answering questions, right? So we all benefit every day. I think all of us are using, ChatGPT and Claude to do more effective searching and to process information quicker. So of course that can be done here as well. It requires infrastructure, not just connecting, but with the data normalization and whatnot. But we're getting there.
Absolutely. I find it really interesting, the shift of people saying I've Googled it to I've ChatGPT'd it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it. Coming from someone who has done a lot of Googling, I'm not sure I am particularly comfortable hearing that.
And why not? Because it's telling you what to believe about the answers?
Maybe because it's telling you what to believe. Maybe because sometimes people convince it's a cat and then it's a cat for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe some of all of the fun hallucinations. Maybe it's just we've changed how we are talking about it, and it's just the words that we're using that is slightly uncomfortable. But no, I agree. I think it's really interesting to hear the changes and the enablement. You had made a really interesting point, right? So a 6-month project, maybe a 3-month project, or even shorter. Yeah, when you're having those conversations with other executives, is the shorter duration, is that the most appealing? Is it the fact that I don't have to try to find a bunch of additional engineers that I otherwise don't have that's appealing? What's the most appealing part that AI is solving?
Well, I think if I just go on the gut reaction of what people always mention is timed implementation, with the implication I'm paying by the hour in terms of, with systems integrators, of course. So I think cost is paramount, right? And, finding people, it was a problem. I think these days it maybe doesn't feel as much of a problem for some reason. So I think it's really speed implementation. But there's another aspect, which is also the interesting way we can standardize solutions. So I'll tell you one thing, we get bashed a lot, have gotten bashed historically for that you need to build. Okay, Ignition's great, but you have to build it from ground up, like whatever you want, right? Where are the templates? Where are the pre-canned? All of that. And I get it. But, we also know that taking a pre-canned solution and dropping it in almost never is the final answer, right? So that might be a starting point, but then you have to adapt it. My point is, generative AI right now, to me, is quite interesting in how it can take the best of breed solutions and make them realizable for your specific application very rapidly. So it's kind of a best of both worlds. It is building it from scratch, but it's building it according to, kind of best of breed templates. So that's also very exciting from a speed to implementation, but also the opportunity to tailor solutions in a better way than what we've ever had before.
Let me ask you a follow-up question on that side, right? And I think one of the difficult challenges I would argue for Inductive and Ignition as a platform is to balance the demands of different verticals, right? So different verticals obviously have very different, I would say, constraints, and you as the solutions provider need to be thinking about, well, which features, what kind of development standards, or what do they need specifically in those industries. And then again, you can see people from all different walks of life, at this conference and otherwise, that may, for example, want containerization, right? And 8.3, I think, addressed a whole broad spectrum of things. But how do you think strategically as the organization to be able to provide, solutions across the board? Do you talk to a lot of customers? Like, how does that actually happen, and how do you prioritize?
Well, since our inception, we've done that by first and foremost, working with systems integrators, right? That was our go-to-market strategy. So what that does for us is you find these very, innovative integrators who are willing to put in a lot of work to make something happen. And they come back to us, they say, hey, this could be easier. You can do this. And then, we can only develop as quickly as we develop. So we have to, historically, we always look at like, what's the low-hanging fruit, right? That's the phrase around the office all the time. That's probably Steve's favorite phrase, low-hanging fruit, right? What's the low-hanging fruit? And that's an iterative process. So close relationships with integrators, seeing where the market's kind of going, where there's opportunity, and what is the natural next step. So for me personally, one of the things I caught on to early on was you get a lot of people who come to you and they ask a lot of things. They want this, they want that, they want to work with you, whatever. You find the ones that are asking for one step ahead of where you are, not 3 steps, not 5 steps, right? Mm-hmm. And someone you know you can work with. And so we've been so fortunate to have so many integrators and end users of that sort, and we latch onto them and they challenge us and we respond, and it really, that's the most effective way to evolve the product. We've always tried to do that. Today, you're right. We have a lot of verticals. I like to point out that, our biggest customer accounts for maybe 1.7% of our all-time sales. Number 2 is like 1.2. Number 3 is like 0.7%. And it goes down quick from there. So we have an incredible diversity, and those aren't in a single industry, right? So our user base is very diverse. So it's really a challenge now, but there's always something obvious that we can do a little better at. Like right now, I'm very interested in life sciences because we have a great install base there, but people don't see us as a life science company exactly, right? So I think there's tremendous opportunity to take that next step. I'll be like, okay, cool. We know you can build systems like this, but we know it's also taking a lot of work. So what can we do to make it a little easier? And that's what we'll do next,
Let me ask a difficult follow-up based on, Walker's comment earlier today, which many companies, that exhibit at ProveIT that have the sessions, and obviously Inductive is not one of them, but fail for a reason, which is that they are too far removed from the customer, right? Mm-hmm. And you're explicitly positioning yourself as selling through integrators. Yeah. How do you balance that pipeline of feedback that comes from, I would dare to say, like from secondhand? Like, do you still engage a lot with the end users and ask them about the true challenges, and how do you maintain that relationship?
Oh, absolutely. I think we don't necessarily have the luxury of time to just go out and ask like what other problems we can solve. There's plenty of people lining up to tell us what we could do, but no, it is, and when I say integrators, of course we know what I'm talking about, but I also like to point out, I mean, even if you are working in-house for an end user, you're still an engineer who, is an integrator of some sort. So we talk to all sorts of companies, and but yeah, it's not about approaching it from looking at the technology landscape, looking at the industry and saying, oh, hey, there's a gap here. We can exploit that gap, make some money, sell this company, and get in and get out. That's not it. And so we've always been very systematic about, our software is where it is right now, right? So cool. What are people asking for? What's the natural next step? We have some big ideas of other, potential things we could always make, but, it still keeps us busy full time, just simply responding to the problems in front of us is, I guess, the easiest way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I can imagine it's a full-time job. It's probably, as Inductive has grown over the last, 10 years I've known you guys, it feels like it's the full-time job of maybe several hundred people of trying to go and figure all of that out. Talking a bit about ProveIT, so there is a really exciting, so I guess Arlen is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. It is open, well, it is publicly known that he will be getting a ProveIT Lifetime Achievement Award. I know that Arlen and Cirrus Linked have worked really close with you guys on the Inductive side. I guess, do you have any favorite memories of Arlen?
I mean, look, it's been such a wonderful experience working with him and the whole Cirrus Link team over the last, I guess it's about 11 years now. I think 2015 at ICC is when he first demonstrated their concept, right? They wanted to take MQTT and kind of reignite it in the industrial space. And he just found Ignition. He found that we had an open SDK, and he and his team put together a proof of concept, and that was it. And that was the start of it. And it's been such a wonderful journey over the last 11 years. I mean, there's all sorts of, he's just a wonderful person. And, his passion for this technology, his experience over decades that he's kind of bringing to, to bear on what we've done in the last 10 years. And, you see the result here. When we, in 2016 or so, when we released those first modules with them, we branded it the new architecture. The idea of like decoupled industrial architectures, not polling, not just a server talking to a device, but decoupled. We call that the new architecture.
Yeah.
Today, it's called, a lot of things, including UNS.
Yes.
And it's fundamental to not just what you see here at ProveIT. It's fundamental to ProveIT, obviously, but every single one of our customers is building systems like that.
Absolutely.
These systems are distributed, they're massive, they're flexible. It's amazing. So I don't know. That's not a specific like party story from Marlin, but it's always amazing. This guy has all this energy and does all this, and he doesn't eat food. So he eats once a day.
He's got to keep going one way. So I'm excited. I'm sure that there are people here who may not have seen Arlen do that first mind-blowing demonstration. And I'm really jealous of people who get to see it for the first time, because I remember the first time I saw it and I'm like, how does this work? How is this possible? And so I am jealous of the people who always get to go see it for the first time, of which I'm sure there'll be at least a few up on the main stage with you guys on Wednesday.
Anytime you can demonstrate the magical ability of computers to do exponential things when, humans are used to linear things, something that would take you, I'm clicking this button, I have to click it a million times. It take me my whole life.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see a million things pop up.
Yeah.
That's magic. And that's kind of what we get out of all this.
Colby, let me ask you again to bring this back maybe to Inductive a little bit on the partnership side, right?
Yeah.
So I know that the ecosystem on that side has grown quite significantly. And as you're looking at all of these companies, again, some of which that operate at the MES layer, some of which operate through hardware, right? And obviously you already have an established list of different partners. How do you think about them? I wouldn't say necessarily about on the AI front, but going forward, what is a successful maybe inductive partner look like? What are some of your thoughts on both, I would say, software and hardware side?
Vlad with the really easy questions. Vlad with the particularly easy questions live at ProveIT.
Okay, so there's a few things here. One is that we learned early on that domain expertise is important, and you can easily spread yourself too thin. So when we're building a modular platform like Ignition and we want it to be extensible, it's really attractive to go chase every single thing you could ever build on it, right? But we didn't want to do that, and we I think wisely realized we shouldn't. So that's why we first opened the SDK to other people, made it openly available. So that's to allow domain experts to do something great on it, and they certainly have. The word partnership is funny because it means kind of an exchange. I do something for you, you do something for us. And certainly we've had that with a variety of companies, Cirrus Link and Sepasoft, and there's lots of companies you partner with, casually. We called this overall program around Ignition, though, as Ignition has evolved in its market presence and it's really taken root as the kind of de facto standard for systems integration, and application building, all this other stuff. There's this whole ecosystem that's now developed around it. And it was about a year ago or a year and a half ago where we were really looking at this of what is the problem here? It's not a problem that there's all these companies, but why am I uncomfortable? You get a lot of questions is this company allowed to be in this program, right? They compete with us, right? Maybe on whatever way. Or there's a perception they may compete. And they say, well, how do you balance what we keep saying is a dedication towards interoperability and openness with that? And at the end of the day, I realized it was the word partner that was the problem.
Okay.
Because that implies an exchange. Yeah. So we rebranded that program to the Technology Ecosystem Program, and just got rid of the word partner. But so these are ecosystem providers now, and that makes it so that everyone can participate, right?
Yep.
And it's more inclusive, and it makes me feel better where I don't have to be okay, yeah, that company's here, but really they're a competitor to us, so whatever. There's no conflict of interest there. Yep. So I don't know if I'm getting towards your question, but it's how that's an example of how we consciously try to, fix a situation that was leading us down a path we didn't like. We didn't want to have to decide who's in, who's out, right? This industry benefits from all of these different ideas. And like I said, coming out of, in my opinion, from 2020 to 24 was a really weird, and I look back now, and obviously COVID was hard. Yeah. But a really weird dark ages of not very much innovation going on, and then because of things related to COVID, it got a lot of investment, a lot of attention. And now we're in a place where we have in here probably, I heard there was 51 vendors, and out of
Mhm.
these, I haven't walked through yet, but I'm going to guess a half of them I've never heard of, maybe, or a quarter of them,
Yeah.
maybe, because they're relatively new and they have something interesting. So I love competition. I love, anyhow, I'm a team sport player, so
No, that is great, and I very specifically asked that question, right, because I know that there was a conscious rebranding, but I didn't know all the story and maybe the context behind it. So I truly appreciate it.
No, I agree. I joke to everyone that I feel like I finally figured out the last partner program, so it's time to go change the partner program. It's what I joked to David Grusenmeyer when he was telling me about the changes. Is David, I finally figured it out, so it is about the right time.
The best partner is the one who shows up and says, "I want to build something. I don't need anything from you. Just let me build it." And say, sure, go for it. If you want the quick answer, that's what you should do.
Absolutely. No, Colby, this has been fantastic. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone for hanging out with us here. I know that we wanted to talk about what to expect on stage, but sadly the stage presentation hasn't happened yet. Can you give us maybe a little tease of what everyone should expect and why we should be there Wednesday morning or tomorrow morning?
Well, let's see. How much should I? At the end of the day, I think what Ignition can offer is kind of the most complete set of tools and functionality for a lot of these topics that we've been talking about.
Yep.
And so there are a lot of great vendors here doing a lot of pieces. I think we are going to be able to demonstrate the most cohesive, comprehensive practical application of these concepts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the best I can say about that.
I like that. I do want to let everyone know we're going to have Travis and Kevin on Manufacturing Hub March 4th. We're going to go do a deep dive into the solution.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because it's the first time I think I'm going to see Travis and Kevin building on stage since the Build-a-thon. And it's collaborative this time as comparative to some of those previous matches that we've had. So I'm super excited to see both of those guys get to share the stage and what is going to be presented.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm excited to see it too.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm aware of what they're doing, but it'll be a first for me to actually see play it out. So
that will be fun. That will be fun for all of us. No, I appreciate it, Vlad. Any last questions, or should we?
No, I think it's good.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No, appreciate it. So thank you so much, Colby.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, so much for hanging out with us, especially if you were with us live and for living through our audio, our audio feedback issues. So if you guys are here at ProveIT, make sure to come up and say hi to all of us. Absolutely come and check out these vendors. The Inductive booth is fantastic. Actually, all of the booths are fantastic.
It's really nice here,
It is a very nice space. Absolutely come out and check the vendors. If you guys are watching us live and not here, Vlad and I will be back live normal time on Wednesday, talking about what we've experienced. We'll be back Friday morning with Walker, assuming that we have voices, to go give a little bit of a recap. We'll certainly be running off of just adrenaline, probably not much else at that time. But no, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining. Until Wednesday, we'll talk to everyone soon.